Sometimes this whole emergency preparedness thing, it's a bit much, Like straight up disaster movie vibes. But what if I told you there's a way to feel really prepared without turning your home into like a full-on doomsday bunker?
Right. Doesn't have to be that extreme. That's where a really well thought out home medical kit comes in. It's about having the stuff you actually need for those everyday things and feeling like you can handle those first steps if something serious happens.
Totally. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. We've got this great article. It's called How to Build a Home Emergency Medical Kit, What You Really Need. It lays it all out super practically so you can actually use this info.
And I really like that it doesn't just give you a list. It explains why each thing is important and even gets into organization and skills. Because let's face it, a box of random stuff won't help if you don't know how to use it when it matters.
So true. Okay, let's jump right in. This article starts with basic first aid essentials, and honestly, I was surprised by how much is in this section. It's not just bandages and wipes. It even includes things like butterfly closures. I always thought those were just for, like, making cuts look less scary?
Well, they do help with that, but they're actually a lot more useful than people realize. Butterfly closures, they actually pull the edges of a deeper cut together. Helps minimize scarring and makes it heal faster. It's like a mini suture you could do at home.
Wow, seriously. So it's not just about looks. Those little things actually affect how a wound heals. This is great.
Yeah. And speaking of bandages, the article does a good job of breaking down the types and when to use which one. A little adhesive bandage isn't going to cut it for a sprained ankle, right? You'd want an elastic bandage for that, for support and compression.
Oh, you know what that reminds me? I sprained my ankle once. Tripped over like nothing. It was so swollen I could barely walk. An elastic bandage would have been amazing.
Exactly. It's those little mishaps that make you realize how important a good kit is. And it's not just physical healing either. Knowing you're prepared, it gives you peace of mind.
For sure. Like having an umbrella when it starts raining, it just takes away some of the stress. Okay, so beyond bandages, what else is in those basic essentials?
Well, you've got your antiseptic wipes, antibiotic ointment, burn gel, hydrocortisone cream for bug bites. It's like a mini pharmacy, ready for whatever comes up.
I like it. Mini pharmacy. Okay, moving on from the pharmacy, let's talk tools. Some of these surprise me. Tweezers. I mean, yeah, for grooming, but in an emergency kit.
Think about it. You're hiking, you get a splinter. Those tweezers are suddenly your best friend. Or even for ticks, to get them out safely.
Okay, I see your point. Hadn't thought of those situations. What about an emergency blanket? I never got why those are so essential. Seems a bit extra.
Not extra at all. They might seem flimsy, but an emergency blanket can be a lifesaver if someone goes into shock.
Wait, hold on. When you say shock, what do you mean exactly?
Shock, it's serious, can happen after an injury or illness. Basically, your body's not getting enough oxygen to vital organs. One of the signs is body temperature dropping, and that's where the blanket comes in. It helps conserve heat, could stabilize someone till help arrives.
Wow, okay, that's pretty amazing. It's like a little sheet of foil can make a huge difference. What else is hiding in this tools section that we might not expect?
Well, there's something so simple, but people forget it all the time. Notepad and pen. You wouldn't think of those as emergency supplies, but when things are crazy, it's easy to forget details. Having those lets you jot down symptoms, meds, allergies, anything. That info could be super valuable for the medics.
It's like a little detective notebook for medical emergencies. Love it. Okay, we've got bandages, ointments, tweezers, a blanket, even a detective kit. What about actual medications?
Right. Alongside the usual pain relievers and antihistamines, the article mentions something you might not think of: oral rehydration salts.
Okay, now those sound serious. What exactly are those, and why are they so important for an emergency kit?
They're like a secret weapon, honestly, against dehydration. And that could be a real problem in emergencies, especially if you're dealing with, like, bad vomiting or diarrhea.
Oh, that's true. I've had those awful stomach bugs where you can't keep anything down. I always thought just sipping water was enough?
Water's important, but when you're losing fluids that fast, you're also losing electrolytes, sodium, potassium, that kind of stuff. And those help your body balance fluids properly. Oral rehydration salts, they're made to put those electrolytes back, along with fluids. Way more effective than plain water.
Huh, that makes sense. So it's kind of like those sports drinks they advertise, right? But when you're really depleted?
Exactly. They could be a lifesaver, honestly, in keeping dehydration from getting serious. Especially important for little kids or older folks. They're more vulnerable.
Good to know. So we've covered a lot. It's kind of amazing how much goes into a good medical kit. It's not just throwing random stuff in a box.
No way. And that brings up something really important: knowing when to call for help. Even with a great kit, there are times you need a doctor.
Right, like unconscious, trouble breathing, chest pain, any bad injury. Those are 9 and 111 situations, no question.
Exactly. And having those emergency numbers right there in your kit saves precious time when every second counts. If you're unsure, call. Better safe than sorry.
You know, talking about all this, it makes me realize there's this whole mental side of preparedness I hadn't thought about much.
Oh, totally. It's one thing to have this stuff. It's another to use it when you're stressed out.
Yeah. What if I freeze up, panic, can't remember what to do?
That's why the article's so big on not just the supplies, but knowing how to use them. It's like having a fire extinguisher. Great to own one, but if you've never practiced, good luck when there's an actual fire, right?
Okay, I see your point. So how do we bridge that gap from having the kit to actually being able to use it when things are crazy?
Practice. Get familiar with your kit, read those medicine instructions, learn some basic first aid.
You make it sound so easy, but honestly, learning all that feels a bit intimidating. Where do you even begin?
Start small. One skill, one item per week. That's it. 1 week, how to clean and bandage a wound. Next week, practice different bandages.
You know what? That's actually really smart. Smaller steps make it way less scary.
Right, and there's tons of help out there. Videos online, first aid classes, even apps that walk you through stuff.
Oh, that reminds me once. My dog was choking on kibble. I had to do the Heimlich maneuver on him.
Oh, wow.
I had seen a video about it online. Thankfully, I was terrified, but managed to get it out. He was fine.
See? That's how even a little knowledge makes a huge difference. You never know when you'll need it.
So true. And it's not just about helping yourself either, right? It's about your family, friends, even strangers.
Absolutely. So you're at the park, a kid falls, scrapes their knee. You being able to handle that helps the kid and calms the parent down.
I like that. It's like preparedness is part of being a good citizen, making the community safer. Okay, so we've got the supplies, the know-how, the mental game. Anything else we should be thinking about for a truly effective kit?
There is, and the article's really good about this, tailoring it to your needs.
Oh, right. It's not one size fits all. What are some ways you might personalize it?
Well, if you've got young kids, you'll want kid-specific stuff. Infant pain reliever, a rectal thermometer, maybe a nasal aspirator. Pet owners might want pet first aid things, like Stipic powder to stop bleeding.
Makes sense. What about people with, like, medical conditions?
Huge one. If someone has diabetes, asthma, anything chronic, their kit needs the stuff for that. Extra insulin, glucose tablets, a spare inhaler, you name it.
You know, it's funny, thinking about it all, a good medical kit is kind of like a reflection of your life, the people you care about. It's this box full of the things you value, the people you want to protect.
That's beautiful. It really is. It's like care and responsibility made real, and it can even start conversations with loved ones about health and safety.
Okay, before we wrap up this part, any last thoughts for our listeners who are like ready to start building their own kits?
Don't get overwhelmed. You don't have to do it all at once. Start basic, add stuff as you learn.
Welcome back. We've covered a ton in this deep dive, from the super specific bandage types to like the power of knowing CPR. I feel way more prepared, that's for sure.
Me too. It's a good reminder that being prepared isn't about, freaking out about what might happen. It's about feeling confident you can handle stuff.
Exactly. So for those listening who are ready to actually do something, let's recap those key takeaways. For building a truly useful medical kit, what's the top thing you'd emphasize?
Start with the basics, the first aid essentials. Bandages, all kinds, wipes, antibiotic ointment, pain relievers. The stuff you'd use for like a cut, a burn, a headache. Have those ready to go so you're not scrambling when it happens.
And organization. It's easy to forget, but when you're stressed, the last thing you want is to be digging through a messy box. You mentioned a waterproof container earlier, right?
Yep. Keeps everything dry and protected. But also have a system, maybe zip-top bags by category, or a little cheat sheet in the kit. Whatever helps you find stuff fast.
Speaking of being efficient, don't forget expiration dates. Easy to tuck a kit away and forget it, but those meds do expire. Using expired stuff can be dangerous.
Huge point. Make it a habit. Check those dates every 6 months, maybe. Put it on your calendar or phone reminder, whatever works. That way it's not this big chore.
Okay, and now for the BIG one, the most important takeaway. Knowing how to use all this stuff. Having it is great, but skills are what matter. You've talked about first aid and CPR training. Can you tell us more about that?
Sure. Knowing how to stop bleeding, clean a wound, bandage it right, or doing CPR, that can literally save someone's life. It's an investment in you and the people you care about. There are classes online, in person, tons of resources.
You know, it just hit me. This whole preparedness thing could be a fun family activity.
Right, totally. Make it a game night, practice first aid scenarios, learn and have fun at the same time.
Love it. Takes the pressure off and everyone can do it. So as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one message you want our listeners to walk away with?
Building the kit is just the start. It's the learning, the practicing, the keeping it up to date. That's what really makes you prepared. Don't be afraid to ask questions, find resources, Make it part of your life.
And don't get overwhelmed. Start small, key items and skills, build from there. It's a journey.
Each step you take makes you more confident, more resilient. That's what matters.
Well said. We hope this deep dive was helpful and got you thinking. Now go build those kits.
Stay curious, stay prepared, and we'll catch you on the next one.
36F.